was supposed to use that money for my mom's medical bills. That was the only reason I didn't touch it all these years. It was my inheritance, passed down by my grandmother, and my mother had made me promise to use it only when it truly mattered. Not for vacations, not for luxury, for life and death moments. And now I needed it more than ever. My mom had just been diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. The doctors said her chances were good with early treatment, but the clock was ticking. And even with insurance, the bills were piling up. I knew it was time to use the money. I told my husband, Jace, about the diagnosis. He hugged me, held me, told me we would get through this together. Then I told him I would be using the inheritance. He paused. Just for a second. It was small, barely noticeable. But I saw it. Are you sure? He asked, his voice too calm. Yes. I can't just sit around and watch Mom suffer. This is what the money is for. He nodded, kissed my forehead, and said he supported me. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? We'd been married 6 years. We shared everything. At least, I thought we did. 2 days later, I went to the bank. And the account was empty. 0. I blinked at the screen like it was lying to me. My chest tightened. A wave of heat rushed through me. I asked the teller to check again. She looked at me with sympathy. The transfer went through yesterday. I don't even remember walking out of the building. I was in shock. It felt like someone had grabbed my lungs and squeezed. When I got home, Jace was in the driveway, polishing a brand new car. A sleek, shining midnight blue Corvette. I stopped in the middle of the driveway. My jaw hung open. Like it? He asked, grinning like a child on Christmas. What is this? My dream car. I finally did it. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I walked past him, heart pounding, mind racing. I checked the online banking history. My name was still on the inheritance account, but somehow he had access. He had transferred the money into our joint account, then used it for the car. All of it. Nearly $38,000. My fingers trembled as I opened the door to our bedroom. I sat down on the bed and tried to breathe. My phone buzzed. A message from my mom. Doctor says we can schedule surgery next week. I'm feeling hopeful. I didn't have the heart to tell her. Jace walked in, still smiling. You're mad. I get it. But babe, come on, this is my dream. I've wanted this since I was 16. That money was for my mom, I whispered. But she has insurance, right? This car, it's an investment. We could resell it in a few years and double it. I stared at him. The man I loved had just gambled my mother's life for a car. He reached for my hand. I pulled away. Don't touch me. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, thinking of my mom's smile, her laugh, how she used to braid my hair and call me her little lion. She didn't deserve this. And neither did I. But Jace? He deserved everything coming to him. I started by calling my bank. I found out he used my login, guessed my password. That was my mistake. But the manager was sympathetic and agreed to help me dispute the transfer. I had to file a claim, and it could take weeks, maybe months. Time I didn't have. So I took a different route. Jace was always paranoid about his job. He worked for a tech firm. Good pay, high stress, but very image conscious. Any scandal, any personal issue, could derail his position. So I waited for him to go to work, then copied every message, every bank statement, every screenshot showing what he'd done. I organized it all neatly into a folder labeled, for legal use. I also contacted his boss, pretended to be a recruiter at a competing firm, asked some questions, got them talking, then dropped hints about Jace's spending, some financial issues, hinted at instability. Nothing traceable, just enough to plant doubt. Next, I posted anonymously on a local auto forum where he bragged about his purchase. I uploaded photos of the car ones he had taken, and detailed the purchase, adding that it was bought using stolen medical funds. The post blew up. People started asking questions. Some tracked the license plate. Others shared it to social media. Then the final blow. I contacted the dealership where he bought the car. I told them I was his wife, and that he used stolen funds from a shared account to make the purchase. I showed them the disputed bank statements. They panicked. Why? because they had paperwork that didn't fully check out. Jace had rushed the transaction, even faked a few signatures. I got a call 2 days later. They were repossessing the car. Jace came home that evening to an empty driveway. He stormed inside. "Where the hell is my car?" "Gone," I said calmly. "Like my trust. Like my respect. Like my money." He looked like he was about to explode. "You did this? You ruined me." "No, Jace. You ruined yourself." He tried to play victim. Claimed I overreacted. Said we were a team. But he didn't look so confident when I handed him a manila folder with everything I had gathered. "This goes to the lawyer next. And after that, your HR. One move, and this folder gets opened." He backed off. 3 weeks later, the bank refunded half of the money. The rest was still in process. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. I paid for Mom's surgery. She pulled through. And I pulled out of that marriage. They say revenge isn't sweet. But watching Jace take the bus to work in a wrinkled suit and no savings? That tasted like justice. My husband had taken everything I told him, my pain, my trust, my vulnerability, and tossed it overboard for a boat named Her Second Chance. And just like that, he gave me a reason to stop being patient. For days after he dropped the news, I didn't speak much. I watched him like he watched his new toy, closely, silently taking notes. The surgery money was gone, but my determination had just been born. I was done hoping Brian would understand me. I was done crying alone while he played captain. He started spending most evenings down at the dock. He'd leave around 5 p.m. and come back smelling like lake water and beer. He was too excited to notice how distant I'd become. Or maybe he just didn't care. Either way, it gave me time. Time to think. Time to plan. He never once asked how I was feeling. My body still hurt, but my heart? My heart was getting colder by the day. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to move smart, quiet, strategic. One night, while he was snoring in the bedroom, I tiptoed into the living room and pulled out my laptop. I searched for community sales pages, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, boating forums. I wasn't looking to buy. I was looking to learn. I needed to know how much boats like Brian sold for, what people wanted, what added value, what ruined resale. Turns out, boats like Brian's weren't hard to find. And they weren't cheap, either. His deal was just average. But if you dressed it up right, if you staged the photos well, and said the right words, it could look like a dream. And dreams? People pay for those. So I created a fake profile. Used an old email. Stock photo of a woman from out of town. Named her Melissa. Melissa joined a few boating forums and started posting casually. Asking questions. Making friends. Finding out which local buyers were serious, and which ones were just weekend window shoppers. It took a few days, but soon enough, Melissa had 2 interested friends. One of them, Mark, ran a vacation rental company. He was looking for boats to offer his guests. The other, Dave, was recently divorced and said he was trying to build a new life. He sounded a lot like Brian, broken, desperate, needing something to make him feel whole again. Both of them were ready to buy, cash in hand. That same week, Brian came home beaming. He had taken some of his buddies out on the boat, and they were all talking about how it felt like a man's dream. I smiled. I really smiled. It wasn't fake. It was relief. The next morning I woke up early. Told Brian I was going to visit my sister out of town. I even packed a bag and kissed his cheek before leaving. I wasn't going to my sister's. I was going to meet Mark. We met at a nearby cafe. I explained everything to him. Except I left out that I was the seller's wife. I told him I was helping a friend sell his boat secretly for personal reasons. I showed him the boat details, photos, location, even where the keys were usually kept in the small hidden compartment under the steering console. He agreed to see the boat in person that afternoon. I wasn't worried. Brian wouldn't be around. It was a weekday. He was back at work and had mentioned not returning to the dock until the weekend. Mark inspected it and loved it. Said he wanted it immediately. I told him I'd get back to him. That night, Brian was tired and half drunk. I asked how his day was. He said he was exhausted but happy. The lake is like therapy. he mumbled before falling asleep. I stared at the ceiling. Therapy for him. Torture for me. The next day I met Dave. He offered more. I took it. I told Dave I'd arranged the boat to be delivered. No questions asked. I would even make sure the keys were inside. He just needed to be there at noon on Friday. Friday came. Brian was at work. I went to the dock like I was just walking through the park. Calm. Sunglasses on. Hoodie pulled low. I unlocked the boat. Started the engine. Let it hum. Took a few photos for the final transfer. Then I placed the envelope with the keys and a fake bill of sale under the cushion. Just like Dave requested. He would take care of the paperwork. The boat was his now. I left before he arrived. I didn't want to see it go. Not because I cared, but because I might have laughed too hard. When Brian got home, he seemed calm. I waited. An hour passed. Then 2. Then I heard him scream. Claire, where is it? I walked to the door like nothing had happened. Where's what? The boat. It's gone. Someone stole it. I gasped. What? Are you serious? Yes. I went down after work to show Brad the new speakers I installed, and it's just gone. Oh my God, I whispered. Did you call the police? Of course I did. But there's no sign of forced entry. Nothing. Just gone. I hugged him softly. I'm so sorry. Maybe this is a sign we should focus on more important things. Like your wife's surgery. He didn't speak. He was too busy trying to find answers. He never got them. I didn't tell him anything. Not then. Not the next week. Not even when he posted on Facebook offering a reward. I let him mourn it like he should have mourned my health. And then 2 weeks later, I scheduled my surgery. I paid for it myself with the money I'd made. I didn't need his permission. I didn't need him at all. I watched from across the parking lot as James stormed out of the bank, his face flushed, phone clutched in one hand. He didn't even see me parked under the tree. He stood on the curb for a full minute before finally realizing his car wasn't there. Neither was the dock. The city had begun demolition that morning. The structure was already half gone, and the construction crew didn't look like they were taking a break anytime soon. James stood frozen. I could only imagine what was going through his head, but I knew what was going through mine. Closure. The night before, I had gathered the last of my things from our house while he was out. I didn't leave a note. I didn't owe him one. The boat he loved so much? It wasn't even in the water anymore. I had it towed and sold to a local buyer who paid in cash. The funds covered my surgery, with some left over. My procedure was scheduled, paid, and I wouldn't need him by my side when I walked into that hospital. He canceled my health for his hobby, so I canceled his dreams and walked away healed. When I finally started the car and drove off, James never saw me. But even if he had, I don't think he would have recognized me. I wasn't the wife he ignored. I wasn't the woman in pain. I was the woman who got her life back. And if you're still watching this, do me one favor. Like, share, and subscribe, not for me, but for every woman who's ever been told her pain doesn't matter. Because trust me, it does.